How's it going, beautiful people? Okay, it is the end of February 2026, and definitely not going to procrastinate this very heavy material episode. I was kind of more so feeling really more erratic and very hyped, jacked up this morning after watching Shawn Ryan's podcast. And I want to get into it because I will sometimes, I don't do too many episodes on talking about movies or different things or Netflix, the things I watch, but still definitely doing that, whether it's it's mostly not all fun related things. I think I said I was going to talk about Black Rabbit and I was going to talk about something else, which but and I'm actually supposed to be looking out for my blood pressure these days. So, but this is very heavy material, very important to me, very important to a lot of people. So sometimes I like Shawn Ryan's shows that I check out, um, but it is very heavy material. So he just finished an interview like about a month ago, and what I want to do in this one. So it's with Elizabeth Phillips, who I never heard. I don't know anything about her, but following these sorts of topics, um, anything having to do with the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, the pedophilia, everything. A lot of stuff that's been going on for a really long time, and I've actually always been, in my activism, just not sure the direction I would end up going with my life, whether it was domestic violence, the correlation with my self-defense training, teens specifically, first responders. I've kind of done a lot of different little things in those different areas. And so, still kind of at a standstill, even with wellness in exactly the direction that it's going to go. I also actually dipped into a little bit with my self defense training with school shootings and just different things there. I wasn't sure again how I was going to be involved. And so I started thinking about this and my involvement with Girls on the Run. I was doing some things there where I think they're very kick ass, even more so than Girl Scouts, in my opinion. And so I did some different coaching there. So this episode, sorry to kind of a little bit sidetracked, is about Elizabeth Phillips, amazing activism, sounds like activist, discussing Camp Kanukuk, is that how you pronounce it? So one of America's darkest child summer camps. It's definitely not feel good subject, people. But what I thought I could do with this episode to see if you want to listen to more, if you didn't read in the description, I actually want to talk about what we all can do to take action, because we keep hearing. So growing up really quickly, I didn't know a lot of this stuff was just so prevalent. These things exist, obviously, molestation, pedophilia, sex trafficking, all this sort of stuff. And unless you're coming into contact with it on, not to say regular basis, but, I didn't really know how prevalent it was, just kept hearing about it. And we've been hearing about it more and more, and how people are actively going out there, and rescuing kids. And I know in Sacramento there is a big um, something on Watt Avenue, like it has a dominant, I think that's specific to sex trafficking over there. So that's kind of wild to basically be in like my former hometown. But what I wanted to do, so this is a very heavy, touchy subject. You can read more about her online, but basically her brother killed himself after what he experienced in that place in these camps. And I didn't listen to the 4 hour episode, and again I was watching my body reactions and just again like the blood pressure and different things, because I always walk away, there's always some sort of lesson or notes or something, right, from these shows. And it's beyond, this is like out of control, like off the chart. And I totally agree every time Shawn Ryan was saying what the fuck is going on, because really what the fuck, right? And so she's Elizabeth is passing a lot of bills, getting a lot of bills passed. And there is progress, right? In my lifetime, actually seeing progress on these sorts of things when it comes to giving these punishments, long-lasting punishments, hopefully, in the sense of, anyway, you can, yes, getting bills passed and things like that, so people don't do this again, hopefully. So I would like to help insert what I have learned from my training and what I can recommend that we all can do differently. I mean, this is very heavy for me too, to sit here being an empath and think about these things, enjoying my beautiful life when things like this are still going on and you're hearing these numbers. And what's even more horrifying is knowing that after listening, I think it was in the first hour of this episode, finding out there's actually manuals that are teaching people how to molest kids. That is, again, outrageous. I can't even believe it. I don't even understand it. I don't even know why things would have to get to this level for humanity to uprise. Like, I don't know why this specifically, it's murders, it's all these different things, but now it's gone to this level of involving children, so it really makes me think, even though I never really into, okay, this is a devil thing or a Satan thing. It's definitely dark, but I couldn't put my finger on it specifically. But now that it's like, okay, there's a manual. So that's, I mean, it's actually like training, like it's training people to do this. And it will talk about on the show and show you where in the outline it actually says like how to examine genitals. And then like the third or fourth step is like how to, like, going into the act of making love. So I really want to throw up in my mouth and just in horrifiedness of this. Okay, so yes, this is very heavy material, but let's go back. Let's start with, just without diving too deep, because this episode isn't about, let me give the hundreds of different recommendations. It's just on a very basic level and go from there, which this is a part of all of this, whether it has to do with school shootings or bullying or, adult or child. This is, I'm going to say though, right now, this is about empowering our kids. Okay. So I've kind of always talked about this specifically in self-defense. Like, why aren't parents, because I did this with our daughter too, why aren't parents talking to their kids not only early on about sex, but specifically about, I don't know to say use the word of molestation, but your idea behind it as a parent or adult or a young person that, okay, we're going to address this, is that how to talk to the kid, how to introduce all of this sort of stuff, right? But sometimes it's the parent doing it to the kid. So it's not like, oh, when Uncle Tommy comes over or Grandpa Joe, this is like, and then there's parents too that also enable. So let me give you an example, is that how we can take action, right? So you hear about all these fuckers out there doing this, and you want to emotionally, spiritually, and physically help your child or kid around you or something. Like, how can we supportive of and support them and empowering them to reclaim their power, right? And this can be used for an adult too. This is also with a lot of us know that there are shy kids, there are kids that lack social skills, there are a myriad of different reasons, right? Sometimes it's fear-based, but basically a child is pretty trusting specifically of adults, right? So you're going to follow the rules or whatever it is. There are some people, some kids, though, born very confident, strong sense of self, and they are going to speak up and say, I don't like that, right? So this is going back to the roots, though, of if you have a shy child, or even, okay, we're going to say maybe shy or doesn't really speak up, or maybe you don't know yet. I feel like I knew at about 2 years old, especially our daughter's like her dad, very vocal and things like that. I wasn't going to have too many problems with this, but still, I wanted to help teach her kind of how to do things in a compassionate way as well. Because to be assertive and be direct is a very great trait, but sometimes, depending on what people you love, there might be a better way to approach it. Okay. But we are not talking about that. We are talking about people uh, invading your personal space. So that's where I wanted to start with. Baby step number one in these conversations: as soon as your child or somebody that you know of, right? Like I said, though, this can be any age, but we're going to say if you're starting very young, it's going to go into just explaining this is a boundary setting thing, right? It's personal space. You have a right to your personal space. You have the right to set a boundary. So obviously you're going to modify this for a child, right? But basically, you could even get in the example of getting in their space and asking them, like, how does that feel? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Okay. So make a game out of it. So these are just some steps I wanted to say that we can say to our children. Of course, I also recommend physical self defense, right, if needed. So the basic language, even from a very young age, that they can speak is helping them feel more confident and vocal and make them practice this with you, right? Saying things like, I don't like that, right? I don't like that when you touch this. I don't like this when you're in my space. You're too close, right? Or you don't have to use it. It's really important in boundary setting to actually use I. So I don't like that. I feel comfortable. That's too close. They could also, and same thing too as an adult or as they get older, just simply asking the person, do you know what personal space is? Okay, because that's also a factor that the person's sense of awareness, right, the perpetrator, their sense of awareness, depending, of course, if they have a personality disorder or whatever they've come from, right? So this is basically a very direct way of approaching or becoming assertive to, hey, they are doing something I don't like, right? And I am going to take action, right? Okay, so these are just some suggested phrases. I'm going to say it again. Modify it for the age, modify it for the word, modify it with the words and the sentences, but it can be very basic things like, I don't like that. I don't like it when. That's too close. Do you know what personal space is? Right? And they will have follow-ups to all of this and get them to practice it with you. And like I said, make games out of it. So also in there are self-defense classes that will do this with children. And my former instructor, I don't know that he's doing it as often, but he would do this there at the school. He also did child abduction types of drills and scenarios and school shootings. So I remember short story, personal story, Girls on the Run, and I was teaching one of the little girls. I think she may have been 6 or 7 in my group. And she was very, very shy. Like, it took months, I think, for me to even get her to speak actually, because she would let me engage with her. But when I would try to get her to kick the kick shield, she just kind of wouldn't do it. So I would just, look in her face, make eye contact, and I would ask her or, tell her, like, use your voice, come on, you can do it, like as a coach would. So sometimes, like I would say, don't give up on these situations. Just keep doing it over and over again, whether it's a child of your own or a child that you know around you. Do not give up on them, because it's just like a teenager. People want to give up on teenagers, and I highly recommend you just keep talking to them. Leave the door open, be yourself, and just keep going, and they will eventually open up. It could take years. Okay, so this is the same kind of leadway that could go into if you have been wanting to find out a way of how to talk to your kids about sex and how to do it in a way, but you just think that it's weird. you're trying to do it like in a way that's either not embarrassing, or how do you be direct, right? And one of those things I asked actually with my sister, because she had always been talking about wanting her first kiss. And my follow-up question to that was at the time was, well, what do you think happens after that? So don't be afraid to just dive in and find out what they are thinking. Okay? So I know this isn't going to be a short episode, but I wanted to, there's a lot of words here, there's a lot of things. Like I said, this is really deep material, and I wanted to offer some different suggestions for just like what can we do as community? What can we do to feel like we're helping prevent these sort of situations from occurring? And just the more and more we keep hearing about um, this organization, I think it said it's been around since the 1950s, and it's very popular, and this stuff is still going on there. So there have been many different people, and the originators, I think he got 3 life sentences. But the point is moving forward and to look out for our own, kids that are around us. So whether you believe this is all has always been going on, or didn't realize, or to the extent, whatever the reason is, I'm talking about it now is because this, at this point now, especially of hearing that there is actually a manual to do this, like I can't even, when they said, when talking about the Epstein files and things getting worse, I was like, what can get worse than, like, what are we going to find out? Like, more celebrities, and how is that going to help us? And that stuff is just going to make us angrier. Um, just, we don't need to know more of what they're doing to them. We already know we already know. That's like the juicy stuff that the media likes to promote. And all those stories to just end up hurting us all more. And so making us feel really, really more horrible about the world, and not being of love to each other. So if we all want to help evolve each other and uprise and help our kids now moving forward, this is one way to do it. Okay, people? So aside from, like I said, self-defense, which self-defense specifically is different than martial arts, people will argue on that. But when I say, I mean the real self-defense, like if you need to palm heel or throat strike or elbow or do something like that specifically, not some of the other like flowing parts I'm talking about of martial arts. Each system has its own benefits, and but I'm talking about the real beat ass if you need to, like that I learned in a lot of my drills, that basically give up or die trying, being attacked by someone in a suit, different things that we did, and you need to do it, you know how to do it. But I did not learn the voice speak up skills till actually a year later. And I thought, wait a minute, like I'm not even somebody coming up to me on the street, I wouldn't know what to do. And even to get them away, like from me. So I think I'm satisfied with ending this for now, and just encouraging all of you that I hope this, I think these are easy things. I think that we can teach our kids, and there's plenty more things out there that you could suggest to them. And they also have, within the boundary setting format, they talk about the broken record technique, and you can teach your kid or kids, right, over and over again to repeat. But more so broken record, right, you say it, you state it, and then you just keep repeating it over and over again. You can actually just follow it up with, did you hear what I said? Am I being clear? Like, there's actually a whole manual, right? There's a whole system when it comes to boundary setting, which again, I did not learn till later in life. It wasn't till about 35. So I hope this helps all of you. Maybe this makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. Again, like I said, to make recommendations, and I'm not going to keep repeating myself. So I will see you in the next episode. I would use caution when you listen to this podcast. If you do, I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't know that I will. But it was enough for me to realize I gotta talk out about this. But more so when I speak up, it's not just a lot of mouth. Like, I want to help us all take action. Like, okay, now we know this is what it is. What can we do? Okay? And there's plenty of other ways to get involved as well. All right, I will meet you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.